Hi everyone, I'm Candace the Shaman.
And I am Spirit Medium Jenn.
Here is a mini clip of our episode. If you would like to watch more, you can click on the link below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing videos from our podcast.
I love so many things that both of you are bringing to the forefront, because this is not about choosing sides. We're not passionate about creating more division. We're passionate about improving people's quality of life and bringing people together in a way that they can understand and live a life of peace and fulfillment. I feel like this is something that, and this is why I feel like that is that connection that we feel like this is family, because we are a soul family. We're a soul family that came here for a similar mission. We came here to change perceptions, because when you shift your perception, you change your life. And not in the sense, we're not talking about shifting your life in a negative way. We're talking about shifting your life into a positive direction, a place that brings a new way to live your life in a more peaceful, fulfilling way. And it doesn't mean that you're discarding your old faith or throwing it away, or that you're getting rid of people in your life and you're just walking away from this whole other life necessarily, even though sometimes those things will fall away if it's out of alignment of your heart. But what we're talking about is that when you live a life that's heart-centered, where your soul is aligned with the personality, where you get to share your gifts with the world, where you get to experience life in a way that is so much more intimate, so much more soul fulfilling, it improves the quality of your life. And if it doesn't do that, then what is the point? What is the tangible point of these spiritual paths or different ways of looking at things? It's because if it can create a shift in your perception, and it can improve the quality of your life, and it can bring in more fulfillment, peace, and happiness, that's why you do it. If it doesn't do that, let it go.
Absolutely.
Let it go.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much information coming in right now with the Aquarian Age. This is the biggest challenge we have in the Aquarian Age, is how do you filter through the age of information? How do you filter through what is of light and what is of fear? And it's by connecting in with that energy. Where does it connect with you? Is it rooted in love? Are you feeling that connection that's centered in love, or is it centered in fear? That fear is going to take you deeper into the sleep of Maya, where you're going to fall deep into a sleep of consciousness, or you can choose the path of love, which is the path of awakening, the path of the hero's dream, like Joseph Campbell talks about. So I'm so passionate about this, because I feel like there is another way. It's like people say, oh, there's this way or that way. There's this way to live or that way to live. I'm like, no, there's actually a third way. There's a different way. You can actually choose a different way. You can choose a path that's heart-centered, a path of unification, a path of fulfillment, of connection and true intimacy with life. And so that's what I love about what we talk about, because I feel like that really is at the core. It's like the meat of what we're doing, that energy behind. It's really about introducing a new way of perceiving your life.
Absolutely. I started my independence report. There are so many. Started my independence report with the tagline, "We're declaring our independence from hate, division, and fear."
Yes. Amen.
And so many people resonated with that tagline, because it's a real stark. We've either got hate or we've got love. Those are the two options that we have. Mm-hmm. And if we choose fear and hate, because they're synonymous with one another, mm-hmm. So fear, hate, jealousy, all the negative side, we're going to live that way, but it's not going to be satisfying. Mm-hmm. It's never going to work for us. Only if you choose love. It's interesting, and because of the work that I do and the interest that I have, I've been studying a lot of near-death experiences. Have you ever done that to go and listen to the folks that have passed away and then come back?
Yes, I'm
Yes.
obsessed.
I
To
love
a person, they all say at one point or another, there are only two things. There's either love or there's fear.
Mhm.
Choose love.
Yeah, that's a good point. It always comes back into that space. Absolutely. I would be very interested, Kevin, to understand. So you've had a lot of different spiritual healers, psychics, mediums. You've had so many people in your space. You've been able to get to know so many. You even had John Edwards on your show. Like
Mhm.
there's so many amazing aspects. I'm so curious to see, maybe when it comes to people who you have felt were very in tune, very aligned, what it was that you felt or saw within them, maybe versus some who were kind of off and on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, especially in the early days, you had to be careful because there were there were some charlatans out there that were interested in making a quick buck, but there were also some people that were very, very heart centered. I'll tell you the one guy, and I've talked about him a lot, and Neil Donald Walsh I've interviewed like 4 times, and including one in person, and he is a very interesting fella in that he is a typical human being. He's been married several times. He's had good things. He's had bad things. And that's why God chose him as a conduit to come through the information that he did, because he's typical of all of us as not being, but he has a message that is pretty clear. And, or Gary Zukav, he wrote Seed of the Soul.
Oh, see the soul.
I need to
He's the
listen.
one that talked about aligning the personality with the soul. Like when you live a life of authenticity and you're living a life of purpose, it's when you align your personality with your soul. And I so saw that when you were talking about how you're like, once you got into this path, you were like, I couldn't turn back. Like this was it. I just became obsessed, passionate about it because you found that you felt that inner alignment, within you. But yeah, Gary Zukav is amazing. I love his book and he inspired me so much.
And I'll got to tell you this quick story. And I'm not sure, Jen, if I mentioned it to you. I may have, because on the last day I had, when I was doing KKNW back in 2003, it was a block programming station, so I was spending $2,000 a week to put on my show. And my assumption was that I was going to be able to sell enough advertising to cover the $2,000 a week and to live a life with my family, and because I had 2 kids and a wife, a dog, a mortgage, all that stuff. And which is why some people thought, this mother is crazy. He's got a mortgage, he's got a wife, he's got 2 kids, he's got a dog, 2 cats, and he's going off trying to generate a brand new thing that he has no idea whether it's going to work. And that ended up costing him a marriage, but that was a good thing. Anyway, where was I going with that? That's what happens when you get old. But we
Gary
were.
Zukav. Then
Oh,
we're
Gary,
talking about
yeah, about Gary Zukav and these guys, is that they were all interested in the betterment of mankind, and everybody that I've met in some degree or another is interested in making mankind work better than being negative, and so that being positive and it's kind of a cliche these days because everybody says, "Yep, this is positive talk radio. This is what." And the reason I brought that back was because I started that in 2003, and it's actually growing to a great. It's really doing well with the type of individuals and the people we have on. But I've been very fortunate. I've met some of the coolest people, including there's a gal by the name of Jenn and another one by the name of Candace. They're some of the more cooler. I guess that's a word. No, that's not a word. They're 2 of them. Of you guys are really on your. When I'm gone, you guys are going to be carrying this work to a great degree, much farther than I have been able to take it. And I'm so happy to know you.
Wow, Kevin.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. That means a lot coming from you because I so admire your courage, your path, and what you've done to make a difference in this world to make it a better place. Like you truly love humanity.
I do.
Yes.
You can feel that, you can see that, you live a life of integrity.
I
You
try.
follow through on what you believe every day and push it forward. And I so admire that because it's not easy. It's not easy to do that all the time, to always forge forward completely saying, okay, and not have doubts or fall behind or change directions or maybe just get distracted. Right. The fact that you've been so consistent and so focused on your path and your mission and what you want to do. I just find that so beautiful and so inspiring.
Absolutely. I would love to hear, because you're talking about us moving forward and how that's gonna, how that transpires. So, in your perspective, Kevin, since, from the past to the present moment to the future, what is it that you feel like will be changing a lot, or what do you see kind of transpiring
Yes.
in the Aquarian age moving
Yeah. What are your
forward?
predictions? What are your predictions, Kevin, for the Aquarian age and spiritual leaders and thought leaders?
Yes.
No, you have to understand. I call on you guys to do the predictions. Um,
their their roles have changed today.
Yes.
I think we are in a very interesting time. I think that the world is we are either going to change or it's going to change us, and we really have. Actually, I got to tell you, I'm torn because on one stand, I say that the world is perfect as it is. That this is how, but because of free will, we've kind of screwed it up a bit. But it is by design. It is our guides are there, and they're all working in concert to help us and to get through it all. And then at the same time, the right side of my brain says, "Yeah, but we got to do something to fix it." And I think that what we can do to fix it is do exactly what you guys are doing with Modern Sages, is what I'm doing with Positive Talk Radio and all of that, is that we're putting it out there so that people can make a choice and they can decide that this is the type of information that they really would rather have. And if enough people do that, it's not going to take everybody, but if enough people do that, we can literally change the world.
Yes.
And how that world looks like in 50 years, I don't know. You've got kids. I've got 30-year-old kids, and I'm hopeful, and I've got a granddaughter now. So I'm hopeful that the world will evolve and continue to evolve forward without there having to be a great big problem down the road. But we'll see. I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. I know that we're going to continue to be here, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because
Yes.
we still get to go home.
Yep.
We
I
get to
love
go
that.
home to where, and Jenn did this for me the last time we talked. We talked to my mom, who was a evangelical Christian that didn't believe that everybody went to the same place. And she gets up there and goes, "What the hell is
She's
everybody
like,
doing
what?
here?"
What are you doing here?
Yeah. Like she was convinced that my father, of course, had gone to hell. But since there is no hell, there's nowhere else for him to go. Now, I can't tell you that there are friends on the other side, but they were married for 50 years, but we all get to. So this is. I look at this, and I know because of my acting background, I look at this as a great big stage play. I have met the two of you before. I'm convinced of it. I've met Dana before. I'm convinced of that because we all chose to come together at this time to try and make a huge difference in the world. And we each have our different gifts. My gift is more bringing people like you to the world and letting you make that decisions for folks and to help them get it, because you guys are just so special. But that's why we're all here. I'm
I
convinced.
love that, Kevin. I do. I just love that so much. It's so funny hearing you talk about your mom. It's like, wait a minute, how did you get here? I was convinced that you were going to hell. But it reminds me of like my feeling and my perception is that when we awaken to who we really are, that we are a manifestation of the divine in form.
Yep.
There is no separation between God and us. God is everywhere. And we get to come here and have this amazing human journey where you forget, where you get to experience duality, where you get to experience all these amazing experiences. And then when you release the body, you come back into remembrance, you go home into the remembrance of your true nature, of who you really are. And what I think is amazing about this time is that we are being provided an opportunity to be fully awake in the remembrance or the awareness of who we are while being in a body. There doesn't need to be this separation between the human experience and the divine. We get to have and what a lot of healers said this in the past, great healers and teachers and masters said, that was the path of the true human being, to understand that you can be completely divine, fully divine and fully human at the same time. There doesn't need to be this separation. So I feel that this Aquarian age is an introduction into the remembrance, the full remembrance of who we are. And if you are fully awake and you can reconnect into creation in a different way, understanding that there is no separation between God, because God is everywhere and God expresses itself and manifests itself in endless ways, then you can start experiencing connection in such a deeper way. There's endless opportunities for connection. We can connect with Mother Earth as a live being. We can connect with the trees, with the grass, with the animals, with the winged ones, as well as our brothers and sisters of humanity. And when we truly are awake in that remembrance, how do we interact with others? How do we authentically express ourselves every day with that knowing in this human experience? It changes everything. It changes your whole experience of life itself. Your whole relationship shifts to life itself, right? So I really feel that this is what's happening. It's kind of like these new agers and spiritual leaders and things like that that we've experienced, and we're part of that generation, you and I, Kevin, where it's like it's this ushering in. It's kind of like midwifing this new way of perception, saying, look, have you thought of it? Have you thought of this? Let me wake you up. Let me turn the light switch on over here, or the light switch on over here, and have you shift your perception of what this can be like.
Well, have you noticed in the last 20 years that creeping into mainstream life are terms that were used in the past for the New Age movement or the or the really woo-woo folks.
The woo-woo. I was part of the woo-woo generation.
Exactly. But all of that is migrating into, people are starting to talk about energy. They're starting to talk about that we are energetic beings. Can I give you a real quick parable as to why I think that we're here?
Yes. Please do.
I call it pumpkin pie. Have either of you, so Candace, describe for me pumpkin pie.
First of all, that's my favorite pie.
I knew I picked the right world.
You chose wisely. That is my favorite pie.
I'm not a huge pumpkin pie fan, so you definitely chose wisely.
So how do I describe pumpkin pie? Oh my gosh.
Who's never had the opportunity and never seen a pie.
Yes. It's creamy. It's sweet. It has a slight taste of spice, of cinnamon and nutmeg. It is kind of like a custard, even though it's a pie. So it has a pudding, custardy creaminess texture with a buttery crunch. With the crust, it has this buttery crunch. So you'd bite into it and it's like creamy. And then there's this crunch. So you have the sweet and the creamy and then the salty from the crust.
Wow, you're good.
She's really into that.
Can you tell I'm a foodie?
She was really into the nuances.
I
of what
am a
that is.
foodie.
Okay, so there are three souls on the other side. And they're standing there talking about Thanksgiving, and they're talking, my favorite, two of them say, my favorite part is pumpkin pie. And so they did what you did to the third guy who'd never had pumpkin pie. You described what it was. So in his mind, he knew, okay, it's creamy, it's crunchy, so in his mind, intellectually, he knew what it was based upon what they were telling him. But he didn't know experientially.
Yes.
So the next time he came back here, one of his life missions was to have pumpkin pie. So that when he went back to the other side and was having another conversation with those same three souls, he could say, aha, I have experienced that. Now I get it. Now I understand what you're talking about. That's why we're here, to experience life in all of its ups and downs and negatives and positives, so that we can experience it, so that we understand it. We're on the other side. We have a knowing about it, but we don't get to experience it from a heavy physical, can't fly around, can't do anything but level that we are here on Earth. I've been told that Earth is a very difficult place for souls to come to.
Thank you for watching Modern Sages. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We are so grateful for your support. We have an Instagram account as well as on Facebook. We have our podcast, which is the Modern Sages podcast.
And we are so excited to launch our Gifts of Spirit classes in our Modern Sages Mystery School.
Absolutely. Oh, we're so excited. So we're going to link the information below in the show notes for more information about our mystery school.